Welcome to Captive Conversations. I'm your host, Adam from Captive Wi-Fi. Join us as we dive into behind-the-scenes stories of hospitality leaders, exploring tech, operations, and marketing through the eyes of the experts. Let's get the inside scoop together.
Hello everyone, episode 30. Episode 30, really excited. Darren from Yumpingo, say wave, give everyone a bit of a wave. We're both absolutely knackered from the Hospitality Tech Show because, the amount of steps I did, my Vitality Health app is very happy. Yeah. So I'm sure you're a little bit tired too.
I'm surprised I've got a voice left, actually.
So yeah, a great show. I did a little shout out on LinkedIn and said that I'll do some video content because they're not. So, but yeah, no, it was a good show. Good to see lots of people. Absolutely. So, thank you for coming in.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Pleasure. It's a bit of a weird setup today because we're not using mics, we're using the clips, and it feels weird. No headphones. So I'm hoping I can see it on here, so I know that if something goes wrong, we'll be okay. So technology changes and technology challenges, but we're good. Thank you for coming in. We met a little while ago.
We did.
We have a couple of mutual clients already, which is really good. And I'm really happy to see that you're doing content. It's really good. So you've got over the cringe factor.
Cringe, yeah. it took me a while. I was very nervous about doing stuff, and then it's probably about a year ago I started doing some different things and getting a bit of encouragement from people. And,
that's great.
Yeah, it's great.
I have to say, I'm loving it because it's just very natural.
Yes.
You know, Sophie from Grateful does a lot. She does it all the time. I can't do as much as she does because she's just all over it. But it takes a little while to get over that little hump.
Yes.
I'm happy because I have this. So I can regurgitate this. I'm like, it's just a conversation. So yeah, no, I give you, and also it gives good visibility for the platform as well, which is really nice. Yeah. We shall talk about later. Okay, so two questions from the last guest. We had Jo from Cam in, and she'd just come up on holiday, so she was a bit frazzled, bless her. But it was a great podcast. I think she was a bit tired at the end. She was like, first question, what would your last meal be?
Last meal? Okay, so last meal, that means I'm going to die? Is that the kind of question? I think if that was the case, I'd probably I'd have a slow-cooked lamb because it takes a long time, so it gives me a bit of extra time.
For the leftovers as well.
Yeah, leftovers. Yeah, and I think with slow-cooked lamb, it's so unforgiving. So forgiving.
Yeah.
You can't get it wrong.
No, the longer you cook it, the better it is, right?
And the longer you cook it, the better it is. And so that's what I do. I cook it myself. I'd spend time doing it, and I'd enjoy it. Okay,
fair enough. That's all good. And the second one was, what would your last drink be?
Well, if I'm having the lamb, I might as well have a bottle of red.
Okay, sounds good to me. Sounds good to me. Okay, we're going to jump into our standard questions, and the first question is best hospitality experience.
Okay, this is a good one because obviously working in hospitality, I'm all over hospitality. I'm in venues all the time. But I would say I was in Mauritius in May, and that is the best experience I've ever had. Firstly, you're in Mauritius, so the sun's shining, you're by the sea, the beach is amazing, the hotel we stayed at as a family was amazing. But I think what really stood out was the staff. The staff just, bearing in mind this was a big hotel, hundreds of guests, they knew my name.
Oh, isn't it nice?
And so straight away I just feel like a king.
Yeah.
Mr. Jackson, how can we help? And they kind of know what you want before you know what you want. And that was like 2 weeks of that every day.
Yeah.
So I think that the fact that the team just go above and beyond and they genuinely want to help you. And I think the thing is with Mauritius is there's quite a lot of poverty. So as a result, the team are just extremely grateful for your business.
Yeah.
And they're extremely grateful for tourism.
And the tipping culture, I guess, is quite nice as well, right?
Yeah. So it's amazing. And I've never seen anything like it.
I think it's really interesting how you see in that sort of hotel environment that it's like what the restaurants used to be with maitre d's and so on. And technology is trying to help. And I think what hotels are doing at the moment is amazing.
Yes.
There are some in London actually that do similar sort of stuff, which I find awesome. But it's hard to find that. I think technology is really bridging the gap, right?
Yes, definitely.
But that's awesome. Okay, next question. It's going to be a difficult one because you've got lots of partners, or it can just be your own. But best hospitality tech.
That is a really tough one.
Yeah.
Because there's so much out there right now, and it's really good. It's never been better actually. There's so much innovation.
Well, you saw it.
coming from the show. I mean, there's just so much. It's really hard to pick. If I had to pick, I'd probably say Tenzo. I think I've seen much more of them recently.
Yeah.
And what they're doing is kind of... The problem in hospitality is people are getting data, but they just don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
And Tenzo is sort of bridging that gap, and they're pulling all these data points from various different platforms and just making it really understandable and something that people can do something with.
I think also easy to see, easy to view. I think an interesting point is I spoke to a company at the show, and they do stock control, American company over here, and they were like, well, most of our clients use like data warehouse and so on. I said, but those people don't know what a data warehouse is.
Yeah.
How would you, but then when you get to enterprise, you've got to build it anyway. I said, but where do you go in the middle?
Exactly.
So what do you do when you pull out the data? So I think you're right. I think, and some of the new stuff they're doing is just blowing my mind.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And I can listen to. I did a post with Christian yesterday, and I can listen to him for hours. Anyway, enough about Tenzo. Let's go to you. So it's a little going back in time because your career path is quite nice. So it's interesting to hear the story of where you've been and from. So let's start all the way at the beginning. Tell me the story. Where did you work in hospitality at all? Younger years?
So no, I didn't actually. I kind of fell into hospitality. Yeah. So I guess I should start right at the beginning.
Early on.
As a child, all I wanted to be was a rock star.
Yeah.
I just wanted to play music.
You've got the hair for it, man. So.
I've got the hair for it now.
And a guitar.
I still want to be a rock star. That hasn't changed.
Yeah.
That's the dream. But yeah, when I was a child, that's what I wanted to do. I was playing my mum and dad's records, the Beatles, Elvis, kind of growing up with that kind of music. And that's all I wanted to do, really. But my mum and dad said, no, you need a proper job. And they wanted me to be an accountant.
Okay.
And unfortunately, I did actually start being, training to be an accountant. And I did it for a couple, 2 or 3 years. I worked in an accounts department for a large firm, and one of the head of IT at the time with this organisation kind of tapped me on the shoulder once and said, "You're in the wrong place." I was like, "Yeah, okay, fair enough."
Is that because you were just like staring at the wall?
Yeah. Well, I think the life I had was I was going to work in the office, bean counting.
Yeah.
And then in the evenings I play gigs.
Oh, nice.
So it's kind of like that sort of spectrum of like. It was totally different. Different life. But he tapped me on the shoulder one day and said, "You're in the wrong place. You need to be in front of customers.
Yeah.
You have to be with people."
It's all about the banter.
Yeah, it is. And so he actually hired me. So it's a different department within this organisation. Essentially, it started as I was a trainer. So I was going out to retailers training on EPOS systems.
Oh, okay.
Because he recognised that I was good at communicating, and that was kind of my first introduction to tech.
Yeah.
But also dealing with people.
Where was that?
So it was actually the Spa distribution centre in the north.
Okay.
So not Spa as in hospitality spa, the Spa convenience stores.
Yeah.
So I was going out to all these spa shops across the north of England, just training, owners, operators, on how to use technology. And back in those days, technology was quite, people were scared of it.
Yeah, completely.
Even though retail's way ahead of hospitality, but that's a different story.
Yeah.
And then one of the retailers I was training one day basically said, "You should be selling.
Yeah.
You'd make so much more selling tech." And that got me thinking, and I thought, well, how do I get into sales? I've no track record. I have no idea what I'm doing. So I went out and got some books on, sales techniques and the process and all that kind of stuff. And I just basically self-studied and then went for a few interviews, failed. The problem is when you go for an interview and they say, "Have you got any sales experience?" And you're like, "Oh, sorry." Okay, see ya. And then I kind of got an interview at Guestline. And that's kind of where I fell into hospitality.
Yeah.
And the owner of Guestline at the time, I get on really well with him. I'm still friends with him now. He just gave me a chance.
Nice.
He basically saw something that he could, develop.
Yeah.
And that was me. I started my first sales job, driving up and down the country, 50,000 miles a
Chatting to hotels.
Yeah, chatting to hotels, some really nice hotels.
Yeah.
and sort of learnt my craft.
Yeah.
And developed over
I mean, to be
time.
fair, Guestline had a massive reach, massive reach.
Yeah, at the time they were quite small.
Really? Okay,
yeah,
nice.
And then they grew rapidly, obviously.
Yeah.
With
Well done.
my expertise. But the growth was like 30% year on year.
Wow.
And I stayed there for 11 years. It's a that's a really long time in sales.
Well, you must have seen the product massively change, right?
It changed, tech changed.
Yeah.
At the time we were the first web-based PMS.
Yeah.
So that was like new. And
we had a hotel we worked with in where was it? It was like Windsory area, and I remember because we did the tech for it. I remember Guestline being on it. Yeah.
So they grew rapidly, and I grew with it as well. So I set up a sales team. Had a fully fledged sales team. And
so when they in the beginning, was it how many salespeople did they have?
It was me and one other guy.
Oh, amazing. So you actually had the opportunity, like you were given the keys to keep. That's amazing.
Absolutely, and I just learned over the years. I'm still learning now, to be honest.
Yeah, everyone's learning every day.
But that, and then I got to sort of 11 years. And I thought, I love Guestline, but they sold to private equity. It kind of changed the dynamics.
Yeah.
And I thought, 11 years, if I go any longer, I'm probably never going to be able to move anywhere else. So I thought now's the time to change. Sadly, I left hospitality. I went to work for a college, believe it or not, which was a random choice. I don't know why I did it. It's the biggest mistake I ever made. Because the college wanted more of a commercial mind. They were looking for someone in the private sector to really help them sort of generate revenue through training and apprenticeships and stuff like that. But I very quickly realised I need to be in hospitality. It's where I belong. So after
they were pulling you back in, weren't they?
So I just couldn't stay away. And then that's when I joined Zonal. And we all love Zonal. Yeah. Everyone knows Zonal. And
we might see a Zonal van driving around the country, to be honest with you. Literally,
they're everywhere.
You can't really miss them.
Yeah, they're everywhere. It's like rats. You're never more than 3 feet away from them.
I promise you.
Sorry, Zonal.
I may have seen, not rats. Maybe I was about to say, I know what you mean. They were an explosion, but I may have seen a Zonal van on the way into town, to be honest with you. So
they're a great company, family business, and really enjoyed my time there. And I think the benefit.
So what did you do when you started there?
Enterprise sales, but more in the they had the marketing tech division. So it's all about guest-facing technology. So I didn't get involved with EPOS. It was more about all the technology that the guest engagement stuff.
Okay.
And that was really good. I guess the benefit.
So were you there when LiveRes was all bought and deployed and so on? Was that
That's
part
right.
of something?
So LiveRes was part of my.
Oh, amazing!
Yeah.
Because Jo from Cam, when she was here, she was the one that brought in LiveRes at Big Table.
Of course,
so she was talking about that and so on. She said it was amazing because previously all the GMs would block book when they knew they were going to be super busy.
Yeah.
And when they switched to LiveRes, she was like, they can't do that anymore. And then she got complaints. Why can't we block book? Because people will book and walk in, but we're busy. You can figure it out. Yeah. And it really increased sales.
Yeah.
So,
And I think that, the great thing about Zonal is everyone, they've got a really good brand. Everyone knows them, and they've got thousands of products that you can sell. So it was a very, I'm not saying it was an easy job, but it was an honour to kind of work for them and be able to do a good job. Then, COVID. And that changed everything. And that changed everything for a lot of people. But it changed things for me. That's kind of where I found myself. And so I was furloughed for a long time. At the time, I had 2 young kids, 4 and 2. Yeah. 2 girls. And I literally, spent time with the kids, homeschooling, baking, growing veg, growing my hair.
Playing the guitar.
Playing the guitar. And just kind of really found what was important in life. And obviously family and kids is a big part of that. So I was furloughed for a long time. And then coming back after COVID, Zonal was a different place. Obviously everyone had to adapt. It was
the whole market changed.
Changed.
It was
And that's when Yumpingo approached me.
Okay.
And why I went for Yumpingo is because it's a much smaller company.
Had you already known about Yumpingo before?
Yeah, because Zonal partner with Yumpingo, and we'd done a lot of work.
So you've had some interaction already?
So I was close to them anyway.
Nice.
And then it was just a natural progression. And so started just coming out of COVID. So I've been there 3.5, nearly 4 years now.
So what was the first role? What was the original role?
Started enterprise sales. Yeah. So very much a sales role. it's a big part of what I do.
Yeah.
And focusing on UK only and predominantly casual dining restaurants.
Yeah.
And so that's where I started. And then a lot of people will know that Gary had a critical accident. And he was a founder, CEO at the time. And he came off a scooter and sadly, he wasn't able to come back to the business. And so that shook things up a lot.
Yeah.
This was a couple of years ago. So we had to reboot. We rebooted the whole organisation. And as part of that, I joined the leadership team. And so now I'm the commercial director.
Yeah.
And the role has developed a lot. So yes, sales it forms part of it, but customer success, the strategy.
It's really interesting because like the guest line thing, you sort of were given the keys a bit now.
Yeah.
And now it's back to the same thing. So you've actually got a really nice buffer.
Yes.
Of going back into and where you are, and then using that knowledge of building that team out. And then expanding the company as well. I mean, not that it's a small company, but I mean, it's...
No, and it's really exciting. We're doing loads of new things now. It's not just casual dining. We're doing pubs, cafes. We're going international. We're doing a lot of stuff in Australia. So no day's the same. Yeah. And it's brilliant. Yeah. I absolutely love it.
We're gonna talk about about Yumpingo, and because we had a burger place in Water Street called BRG a long time ago. A consultant set up. We did all the tech stuff for it, and I think that was my first iteration. And I'm talking a while ago.
Yeah.
And this was the Amazon Fire tablets.
Yes.
So let's talk about like some of the iterations because it's come a massive long way.
Yes.
I mean, from the original, founder setup to where it is now. Can you tell people like the journey of the product?
Absolutely. Yeah. So when we first came into the market 8 years ago, I think it was.
Yeah.
It was all about developing a survey that was quick, really simple for the guest, and to be able to drive volume of data. And with volume of data, you can really delve into like the granularity. So the whole focus was about how can we do things differently? How can we drive the maximum amount of data, and how can we do it easily for the guests?
Yeah.
And that was the birth of the Yumpingo One tablet, which the device that you see in a lot of venues. And so that allowed us to get data quickly, help operators make decisions quickly, and see a big impact.
I found it really interesting because I remember querying when we were there on like the opening of that place in Soho, probably about 8 years ago now, probably. Yeah. And I remember him, and he was like selecting the server name, which is great, because otherwise you don't know, right? Obviously now everything's changed, but it was so interesting of how the flow, because it was actually quite quick, to be fair. Yeah. So it was literally done. You had your bill there. And then it wasn't the integrated bit yet. It was pretty cool, way before its time. Yeah,
it was at the time. And then as time has gone on, so we've built lots of integrations. Yeah. It started with EPOS. So let's pull the check items. Yeah. Let's know we know what they've had. We know who served them. Yeah. We know when it was. Let them rate the dishes. Let them rate the server and the overall experience. So we did that. And then what we've done, which a lot of people don't realise, is that we've developed integrations with various platforms like CRMs, Wi-Fi, obviously, and order and pay, loyalty apps. Yeah. And so what that's enabled us to do is capture data from different places, looking at various different touch points. If you go into a Cafe Nero, you wouldn't know that Yumpingo powers the survey. Yeah. Because it's all built into their loyalty app.
I had no idea.
The survey's customised. There's nothing, you can't see Yumpingo. But we're there in the background.
I have to say, one thing I do like is what you just said. I'm a big believer in brand first. So you shouldn't really be shown. It shouldn't have powered by X. No. And I give you props for that because it then makes the whole customer journey experience from the brand.
It does, and I think the purpose is making it easy for the guests, making it on brand, and making that survey as slick as possible. Yeah. Now we've got lots of experience, so we advise clients this is how you should structure the survey. Yeah. Because we've done loads of tests on engagement. Yeah. So we try to kind of guide them on the survey, but essentially it can be customised. Yeah. Things can be taken out. We're doing work with brands that aren't even restaurants. So we take out the food element and we just focus on service. So it really is a case of
it's not just restaurant built, right? Because it can do any feedback's feedback.
It is.
I find it really interesting that there's lots of platforms out there that are very hospitality, and obviously, I mean, I'm talking about restaurants, casual dining, QSR, but the reach goes out massively, right? From beauty all the way up to health and everything.
Yeah, and you know, we're working, you know, obviously cafes. But, you know, we're doing a little bit with supermarkets as well. You know, with QR and packaging and things like that. So, you know, there's no limit really to what we can do.
Yeah, it's nice to see that you've taken that route out. Yeah, because some people are fixed on hospitality. Yeah, and feedback's really important for everything.
Well, it's how do you get better at what you do? Doesn't matter what business you are. Yeah. You need to understand.
It reminds me of the boot when you go out of Boots and you just press the button on the unhappy or happy. Do you know what I mean?
It baffles me when you go to the airport toilets and there's like different, you know, smiley face, sad face, neutral face. Sad face. Well, how do they know what to do with it? You know? Yeah. Okay, we've got a few unhappy faces. Well, what's wrong? Yeah. You know? So, interesting.
Nice. And then, so it went from the original like tablets, and then it went to POS integration, and then you've still got what a client, because obviously the devices are a lot smaller now, right? They're basically like little mini Android devices, aren't they?
They are.
And then the builds are actually on the screen.
The bill's on screen.
Nice. And then and so the customer doesn't need a printed bill really. I mean, they obviously can have if they want. Yeah. And then how are you working with payment providers with
so
that?
we have done a bit of payment. So it's generally with the order and pay platforms. So there is the ability to be able to pay as well, nice. if customers want that. But we find it works really well because it's the device is presented with the bill. Yeah. Then obviously the server goes away and gets a PDQ machine, so that's a perfect time.
Nice.
For the guests
you've
to
got
give the feedback.
X amount of time for the sentiment to fit in.
Yeah, and as a result, we get 70, nearly 80% of guests leave a review.
Really?
So it's like massive.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
It is.
What percentage do you get for like obviously putting email addresses in is a little bit harder on the flow because people aren't. Do you get a nice percentage?
Yeah. So at the end of the survey, there's the ability to opt in for loyalty or whatever the scheme is, and it varies. 20, 30%.
Yeah. And people haven't got much time on it, but it's that analytical. You don't need it because you've got the booking anyway, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So if someone's booked in, you already know that information. Yeah. The thing that I talk a lot about is touch points and and we talk a little about touchless loyalty, right? Yeah. Because if you've booked a restaurant and your name's already in there, so your name's already in there, your name's already in the till, it's already passed through. You connect to the Wi-Fi, they know you've checked in. That whole thing's there. Yeah. So I think the nice piece with what you've got is actually if it's casual dining, for example, and most people book, they have the full tracking of where everything goes.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So. Once that data's in, your platform centralizes, can filter. Talk to me. What does the customer view look like?
Yeah, so it's there's lots of different customer views, and that's a lot of what we've been doing recently is about customization of the dashboard because different people want different things. Yeah, and they want it in a very quick, easy, digestible format. So we have a view for GMs, and they see their store. And they can look at what actions they need to prioritise based on obviously the data that we've collected. So it's very easy for them to just see, I've just focused on these 3 things this week, and that will have the biggest impact on performance. So we have that view for GMs, and they can compare with the rest of the group, so they can see where they are on the league table. But then we have a view, for area managers if it's a bigger group, so they can see their stores and they can see where their stores need to focus.
Competition against each other.
Yeah, all the league tables are there. Yeah, and then centrally the whole estate, so you can drill down to site, shift, dish, server.
Nice.
All of it. And so we're doing a lot of work at head office levels, sort of helping. Brands think strategically really about how to change things. Do they need to change steps of service?
Question, because we mentioned Tenzo earlier. Yeah. So they pull in like general feedback with their platform as well as other stuff. Is there I don't know if everything's customer driven, right? But is there a proposition or a possibility even of feeding the data in to a platform like that?
Yes. So we're doing work with Tenzo at the moment.
Oh, awesome.
And I think, so what we've got is that granularity on dish performance, server performance, and we can look at steps of service. All that sentiment data is all there. But then Tenzo can grab all the sales data, the check data, the average check and all that kind of stuff. So you put those two together.
That's so powerful.
You've got something really powerful.
Wow. Yeah. So are you feeding, is the plan... You can share it. Is the plan to feed data into them, or
so I think Tenzo feed data from lots of different places. So the natural thing is for us to feed our data in.
Just going to enrich the data.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, the Yumpingo dashboard is there for people to use on a daily basis.
Yeah.
But from a BI point of view, they've got something.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really. Is that happening? Is that in?
Yeah, we're working with a couple of clients now, actually.
Oh, mate. So data's already being.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm getting excited, but I'm a data head. I like seeing, and I like it being centralized. I spoke to someone, as I said at the show, and I was like, look, the CEO can sit on the owner can sit on the toilet and look at everything.
Yeah.
So it'd be nice to really get enriching the data.
Absolutely.
I think that's an important piece. And then obviously other parts of the platform, you guys do. Do you guys pull in reviews from third parties and?
Yes, we do all that. It's interesting actually. So we grab all the Google, TripAdvisor, all that kind of stuff, and that is important. But from a data point of view, most of the data comes direct from.
Well, I guess yours is more granular information that's coming in. That's just I guess that's a bolt-on because other people do it. Yeah. So there's a need if someone's using one platform.
There's a need for it, but I think online it's very polarized. Yeah. People online are either 5-star, love you, or 1-star, I hate you. Yeah. And there's very little in between. So we focus on the silent majority of people that we're not going to say anything, but if they go through a survey, they'll be honest. Whereas online, it tends to be, we give the tools to manage the damage. We call it manage the damage, basically. Yeah. So you respond to negative reviews and you kind of say sorry and here's a voucher and all that kind of stuff. We've got all that. But I think that's
not really the true value, right? No, the true value is the real data. Because if someone wants to leave a comment and that device is there, or you've sent them an email, and they've got it, and it's a nice curated, designed in client design email, they're going to respond.
Absolutely, and I think just to summarise, the online stuff, it tends to be we talk about upstream thinking. So online is downstream. Yeah, you kind of like responding to. The problem, saying sorry, whereas with Yumpingo, we're more about think upstream, fix the problem before it becomes a problem. And before
so on that note, which is really interesting, so we talk about feedback, and we've got a really bog standard one that we're about to feed in, so you can do it rather than us, which is going to be much better. But fixing stuff, like as you said, so if a breakfast service goes badly and the feedback comes in, what are the triggers that you have? Do you have triggers that can help?
Yeah, so it's real-time data. Yeah. So if you think about people are leaving you survey, while they're in venue. Yeah. So because it's real-time, we can have alerts that trigger. There's a problem with this dish. Yeah. Sort it out now. Yeah. We've got loads of examples.
So where does that go? Is it is it an app or is it online or is it email?
It's available online anyway. Yeah. But generally, a lot of our restaurants have a tablet on the pass. Oh. And so they can see real-time the data coming in.
So what, like a live dashboard?
Yeah, it's like a live dashboard, but it's kind of focused on that live service and traffic light system.
Oh, awesome.
And then basically you'll know which table has left that review.
Fuck.
Yeah. So run and
literally save them. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So it's
that's like positive change.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, my mind goes, but that's like for next, like you've got KDS, and then you've got that, and literally, if someone's left, if that mounts up, you're able to make immediate change.
Immediate. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. We had a brand which they kind of prepared a lot of their food central kitchen, and one of the dishes was French onion soup. And what they found is in sight, live in lunch service, it was flagging up. Yeah. Alert, too salty. Yeah. And they took it off the menu across the group.
Wow.
Because they knew that was
the
a problem.
Yeah, freaking heck.
It's like immediate results like that.
Yeah. That's so powerful.
Yeah.
I didn't even... So listen, we have clients that use you. My brain hasn't even gone that way. I have just thought about like general feedback. Someone sits in an office, you see it, you do it. But this is actually making operational changes.
Positive change.
Yeah, positive change. I like that word. It's a good word. But that's really powerful. Yeah. I don't know when other platforms we speak to are like, oh yeah, marketing teams log in, 3 times a day during service. They might look at it, and that's with the Google stuff and everything else. But what you're saying is really tipping stuff on its head.
Yes.
That's really interesting. I'd love to see that. We're going to we'll go somewhere and have a look. You can show me on because that's really interesting. Yeah. You blow my mind. And then obviously plugins to other stuff because you've got plugins to loads of CRMs as well, right? So there's like Patronics and we've got and we've got So talk to me about like how those integrations are. Like, is it just after post visit fire or like, how does
so it's, generally the CRM integrations are two-way.
Yeah.
So we can push out surveys through the CRM.
Yeah.
And then the guest can complete the survey, rate the dishes, the server, the experience, blah, blah, blah. And then when we can actually then push that data back into the CRM.
Yeah.
So then from a CRM point of view, you start to understand who they are, what they spend, what they think, what dishes
so
they like.
You can feed all that data into all those third-party CRMs that they're using, so then the data's enriched.
Yes.
And then they can do triggers.
Yes, based on you love this dish, let's send you this offer.
Okay. So more segmentation as well, not just sending triggers on negative stuff.
No, you can look at your positive, your promoters, and they love you. So why not?
So if you're getting okay, nice. So then obviously the CRM, then you can go to whichever CRM you use. If you're feeding that data in, you can then trigger if everyone likes this dish. Let's highlight it. Or I guess another thing that's nice for you as well is so we were talking to Lightspeed yesterday, and they've got this really cool thing where because they do payments, they've got this dashboard where you can see things, what's popular, what's not popular. If you're thinking of taking something off the menu, you can look at this like quadrant, I think it's called, where actually you've got this dish, everyone's using this dish, we're about to remove the menu, but everyone's ordering it. And so with that mix and your mix, that really can pull stuff together.
It's really interesting you say that. So another example I've got is one of our clients came on board 4 years ago, and their chicken burger was one of their best sellers. And the CEO at the time said, I'm not changing any of my best sellers. They perform well, good GP. I don't care what you say, I'm not changing them. They put Yumpingo in, and within 48 hours, we said, your chicken burger is a problem. It's overcooked, it's dry, people don't like it, and it's actually impacting...
So it's a detractor, basically.
They're not going to come back as a result.
And
he was like, that was the kind of light bulb moment for him.
That's so interesting.
And so in that lunch service that day, what they found is it was a really simple fix. It was just a bit of training in the kitchen. The grill setting was slightly too high. They made that change, and lo and behold, the scores of that dish shot up.
That's amazing.
But interestingly, the sales followed. So it's about 4
it's about the return, more repeat visits, right? So it's probably clever brand, good, lots of first-time visits, but maybe not so many return visits. So you've driven more return visits.
100%.
Now, on that aspect, which is another conversation piece, training, is that something you're going to look at plugging into, or do you plug into?
So we do a lot of work with L&D teams. So a lot of our data... The thing is with our data, it's used in lots of different departments. Ops, lens, massive. But L&D, it's shaping training programs. So we're looking at server analysis. I mean, I've talked about dish stuff, but the server analysis, it's insane. You can look at average check. You can look at whether an NPS by server, are they delivering a good service?
Are they upselling?
Are they upselling? All of those things we can track. And so you can spot who your rock stars are. And who needs some training. And that's shaping the whole training program.
Sorry.
I'm getting excited now.
No, but just because... we start with just feedback, right? So my brain is you're just feedback.
It's not feedback. We use feedback, but it's what you do with it.
It's like, sorry. I get excited when I'm listening to what you're saying because I know what Yumpingo is, right? As an outsider, right? I see the platform, but I don't see the inside of it.
No.
Because obviously our clients use it, but there's so much that could be done.
So much.
So I'm gonna, one of the platforms, the learning platforms I quite like is Blend, and they're hi Jonah. They're doing amazing work, and they're like TikTok-based training basically and stuff like that. So there's loads of okay training platforms out there, but theirs is doing pretty well because they've got like surveys and stuff, and quiet Q&As after you've done it. Lots of the platforms out there. We have a client I went to the other day who has a standard training platform. Laptop was open, GM was like this. I literally, and then he went off to make a coffee, and the video's still going. And then it was like, done that. That's my training, done. But their platform's pretty cool. So I could see. Are you looking at actually plugging in to because you've got a trail and other things where you can affect change. So if negative feedback X do Y. Is that something maybe the future's looking at?
I think so. I think, with the Tenzo thing, it's about plugging in and sort of using the data and using it to shape stuff. So,
to be fair, they've got alerts anyway. So you could potentially, you could do alerts on their apps as well through you.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
So the possibilities that are there.
Yeah. Well, I've seen the API, so it's pretty good. Thanks.
Good.
It's really interesting to hear. We're definitely going off topic, which is great. But I just like to understand it because I don't think everyone really understands how powerful products can be.
That's been part of our challenge. I think people sort of put us in the bucket of, oh, you're the company that do devices at the table.
Yeah.
And you just do feedback.
Yeah, or I've seen a QR code somewhere.
Yeah,
that might be, do you know what I mean?
And it's not really about the tech, the survey.
It's the data.
It's the data and what you do with it that matters. It's the outcome.
Yeah. And it's just awesome. Sorry. My brains are
I'm glad I'm not the only person that gets excited
I know,
about this.
I love tech, but I love it when passionate people talk about it as well. Do you know what I mean? It's so interesting to hear all the intricacies of what the platform can do, because as I said, when we spoke and in the past we've chatted and clients use it, and we don't see often, we sometimes see the inside of it, but it's really interesting to see all the facets of what's possible. And I like that you guys, as you said, the upward stream, right? Or down,
upstream
thinking. So you're literally like, what else can we do with this data? Because it's not just a 1 out of X. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, okay, so I have some standard questions. I did send you these standard questions, so I don't think we've gone through any of them. But we did the. To be fair, you've already talked about what makes Yumpingo different, which is great. So we've talked about the team. What's it been like building that team out? Actually, just going back to that, because we talked about your little bit of experience. What have you done?
Yeah, so we had a reboot probably about 18 months ago.
Yeah.
And what we've got is a very lean team now.
Yeah.
And there are no barriers.
Yeah.
We kind of roll our sleeves up and we do what we need to do. So there's none of that.
No board.
That's not my job. I'm not doing that. There's nothing like that. And we just all support each other. I know it sounds really cheesy, but we are like a family.
Yeah.
And we just do what we need to do to kind of. Our mission is to just kind of tell everyone about what we're doing.
Yeah.
And sort of help hospitality businesses. That's what we want to do. We want to help hospitality businesses get better at what they do.
I keep saying every week, but every time I do this, for us it's the same. It's very much help the customer. Yeah. Build them up. Make them do better, make them more money. The more money they make, the more sites they have.
The better it is for everyone.
Right? And that's a really big thing as well. What's the customer service piece like? Because if you're a lean team, are you guys very much staying in touch? And like obviously you've got enterprise level as well as smaller ones.
Yeah, so we've got a very strong customer success team. Yeah. So we've invested a lot in that. Yeah. So it's really important that when customers come on board, we don't just give them the tech and then see ya. Yeah. It's about how do we drive...
It's a big platform, right? From now what I'm hearing, it's not just switch up and, there's not,
I mean, don't get me wrong. There's an element of it that's self-serve. Yes. They can do lots of things with it. But really, we're about that continuous improvement. So we have a process where it's, we get them live, we get them onboarded, get the data flowing in, and then it's all about then how do we help them think upstream and drive continuous improvement. Yeah. And working with them to do that. So a big investment was customer success. Yeah. We're also, as a business, we're not just UK as well. So we've done quite a lot in the US anyway, but more recently Australia.
So is there a different team in the US?
We've got a few people on the ground in the US. Yeah. But the beauty is we can support people anywhere. Yeah. Because we've got you can do it over Google Meet and stuff like that. And we're still seeing really good results. Yeah. And Australia's been superb for us. So we started with the English-speaking nations, but actually we're doing quite a bit in the Middle East now.
Oh, nice.
And we've got multilingual.
I have to say, the Middle East is so quick to act. Yeah. On like, this looks great, let's get it, can we run it out now?
They're so efficient, but and also they kind of get the whole upstream thinking, continuous improvement, Kaizen, that whole principle. They completely get it. What I will say is Australia, I'm amazed at how forward-thinking they are. So I thought they'd be like laid back and chilled, but so they just want to get stuff done.
So in my experience, we had LP from Red Cat, Australia. He's freaking awesome. Love him. And we talked about. I've spoken to him loads. I've spoken to the Me and You team over there as well. Yeah. And Ellie from Twice Breaks has Daniel, who's over there. So I speak to a lot of different people over there, and it's really interesting. We find that Australia's they were ahead of QR, but they had QR before COVID, so it was fully adopted. LP was like, if you go into a restaurant, there's no QR code, don't walk out.
Don't walk out. Yeah.
I was like, really? Which is really interesting. So we were talking about it I've talked about loads of people. It's like Australia are ahead of us. Yes. So they're like, they're high adoption. The staff, the hospitality, I think, a little bit different over there as well. Yeah. and high adoption on tech. I mean, listen, me and you just freaking everywhere.
Yeah.
Or even its adoption is much higher.
Yeah.
We're sort of behind them.
Yeah.
I think America are definitely behind us. You know, I was talking to someone at the show yesterday, and she's part of the US team, and she's like, we were talking about WhatsApp, and she's like, she goes, I've got like 3 people on WhatsApp. It goes, no one uses WhatsApp because the sales segment was so good. So, but it was interesting. So, but I'm now finding, not now, but like a colleague of mine is doing stuff in Dubai. We've got clients across the Middle East for the Wi-Fi stuff. It is just so quick.
Yeah.
I mean, I find it amazing. They want the tech, they love the tech, and they want it to work, and it is so fast. So I think that's
no red tape either. It's brilliant.
No, it's just go. I think the only challenge we see is that, well, it's nice now actually. In the past, it was very much restaurants inside hotels. That was the beginning, right? It was all, it went exploded, all hotels, and over there it was very much like it was in there. So there's the challenge of having what control do you have, but now there's like, I mean, it's gone crazy, right?
Yeah.
So and it's nice to see, you know, Sumasan has just expanded out, which is really nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the whole area is going to be is definitely high. We find here is interesting. Vic Searle from DataHawks was like, she said to me, when you speak to marketers, because obviously it's interesting, actually you speak to operators and the marketing team. So it's interesting. So how does that, sorry, I'm going to go back to Vic in a minute, but how does that work? Because that's a bit of a tricky...
It's a big challenge for us because a big part of what we do is the ops lens.
Yeah.
So we actually help operators be better and make change and you know, all that continuous improvement. But a lot of the time, marketing own feedback.
Yeah.
And it's a big challenge for us because ops love it, they want it, whereas marketing, they want to...
What's the message, you know?
But we navigate around that. I think for us, it's about involving all the different departments.
It's really nice to see, because I spoke to another marketer we work with, and she's like, she's a marketer because the first thing I do is go to speak to ops when she goes into a business. And not many people do that. People just go straight, like they'll go to the marketing team. And then there's always a barrier because the marketing, we've got to get it over with ops. So I think there's always same with us as well, right? You know, it's tech and that it does lead into that stuff as well. So I find it's nice to see that you try and get that marriage in there. You know, so when we talk about our stuff, like for the some of those products we do, you know, the Wi-Fi will be like, well, Res has it, and there's Res, because there's 2 pieces as well. You've got reservations, which is also separate. So you might even have Res team, marketing team, and operations. Okay, so it's nice to see that you've got that team built in and what you can do. I put here. What do you see the key technological trends shaping the future of guest experience? Yeah,
interesting. I think automation for the teams. I think the more you can automate and make things easy for the servers and the frontline teams, the better it is, because they can spend more time with the guest and interacting with the guests. So anything that can help with that. And I think, you know, if you've got a happy team, they'll look after the guests. You know, so let's do that. I think personalisation is really key. You know, a customer, you've got to
take when you're on holiday, right?
Exactly.
Bring that into
Mr. Jackson, you know, your usual. You know, all of that kind of stuff is what you want, really. So I think they're the key things, really.
To bring it in. Awesome. And then one of the questions here was, what advice would you give to hospitality brands looking for better understand their customers to improve loyalty through data-driven decisions? Get your bingo.
Data-driven. I mean, you've got to understand your guests, and I think, you know, I guess it comes down to this whole, you know, the purpose here is hospitality. You want to ensure that guests leave happier. And so in order to do that, you've got to understand what your guests are thinking, what went well, what didn't go well, how can you be better next time? And so I would always say, coming back to this whole principle, there's a book which I would recommend, Dan Heath, it's called Upstream Thinking.
Okay.
And it basically summarises what we do.
Okay. I'll put it in the show notes.
And I think if you get that right, if you improve and get better at what you do, you'll have more happy customers. They'll tell everyone how good you are, and people will come back, they'll spend more, but just make sure the teams are focused on that, you know, and rather than purely focusing on downstream, where you're kind of responding to issues.
There's a challenge though, because the turnaround of staff, things that are happening, trying to keep that right team. If you're like, we work with a lot of different brands like you do. You see that some of them have the same staff all the whole time, which is great. I think the challenge piece is I think training, learning development, the L&D, the training I think is super key into what it is, and I think that's something that can really, really, really make a difference with your platform. With getting that training done, and then you can benchmark the training versus the feedback. I think that's something for me moving forward. I think I'd love to see that, more of that, because I think that will then, because listen, customer retention, really important. You've got like Tipjar and Grateful, helping with that stuff. You've got the LMS platforms that are out there that are getting better. I think I'd like to see it. I'd love to see an all in one, not all in one, but all of that stuff talk together. Do you know what I mean? That's sort of not my. I'm not an operator, right? But from what I'd love to see is championing your staff, because you can do that with yours, right? You champion the staff, but then you can champion it with the training platform as well. And then you've got your tipping platform, which is, so the legislation's changed. So I think everything is now trying to shape into that way.
And it's also looking at all the little things you could do that make a difference. Even down to steps of service. If you ask this question, that has an impact on NPS. That has an impact on spend. Ask this question and people will be happier. It's just as simple as that. A lot of the stuff we surface is really straightforward things. It's not.
As you said, like the chicken bird, like literally they fixed it in 48 hours.
It's a simple thing.
Little things.
Just ask this question and you'll be fine.
I think the other thing's interesting actually, because you get and the thing I really like as well, there's loads of restaurant consultants now, which probably helps you guys as well, because they'll be like, right, okay, this is the stack we use, we're going to bring this in and so on. The thing I quite like with is sometimes, depending on the brand, you might not need that consultant to come in once you've activated the service. Because then you see the key indicators of what's happening. So if that's still not what fixed, you can then obviously go look at what you need to do. But it's really interesting to see the positive change you can make within the platform. So it's really interesting. You need to share some insight. I'd love to see when this is going to go out in a little while, so you can share it to me. I'll put it in the show notes. It'd be great to see anonymous insights of what positive change is done.
Absolutely,
that would be great. If you've got that, that'd be awesome, because then people can really see the power of the platform. Because as I said originally, Yumpingo's feedback. And it's really not.
No, it isn't, and
it's insights,
there's loads of stories I can tell you, and I could talk to you all day about it. But even offering freebies has a massive impact on scores and spend, and because if you give something for free, the guest feels like they should give something back. And whether that's a tip or to order a dessert or whatever. So
I think the surprise and delight things are awesome. And we talk about loyalty, and then we talk about bribery. So it's very interesting of lots of bribery out there, because marketing haven't really got it to a T. But the surprise and delight of, you've gone X amount of times, I'm not going to say anything, but I tell you what, we're going to do this. And it just gets added, and then you get that beautiful...
But we're able to measure that. So there's a brand of ours that started to do craft lemonade on arrival. Free craft lemonade, there you go. And we were able to measure the impacts on,
that's so cool.
Service and NPS. And then we saw that the guests spent more as well, and tips more. And so you can actually see the results.
So question for you. 5 stars or 10 stars? Because what's true NPS?
Yeah, do you know what? I get this question a lot, and it really doesn't matter. We did a massive piece of research in 2017, and we looked at the various different ways that people measure satisfaction. And people are doing lots of different things. 1 to 5, 0 to 10, 1 to 10, CSAT, and the results were the difference between each of them was marginal. But I think the most important thing, which I'll stress, is it's not about what your NPS score is. It's about how do you shift that needle, and then how do we move that needle up, and that's what we focus on.
So you've got a lot of data across the board, and you've got a lot of clients. Is there a way? Is there going to be a time where you have because Lightspeed now do I keep mentioning them, but Lightspeed have the competitor analysis built in of their customers, not generally everyone. But is that something that might...
The data is there. We can see that. We don't offer it as a service as such, but if people ask us for information, we can provide
and
it.
what's the local area looking like? Because a company could come to you and say, we want to open a chicken shop in this area.
Yeah.
What's the QSR range looking like? And so on.
And I think it's good to see how you compare to other brands.
Yeah.
But I think the point we make is you're not in control of what the other brands are doing.
Yeah, true.
They're off doing their own thing. What you're in control of is how can you make positive changes in your business.
Yeah.
So that's what we tend to focus on.
Yeah.
Yes, it's good to see where you kind of sit.
Levels,
to get a gauge really, but that's...
Okay, so we're near the end. Yeah. You're not going to hear this because we're doing this, but I'm going to put the applause on, which everyone else will hear. So yay!
Thank you.
I've got here what's next for Yumpingo, but you've sort of shared some really interesting... Is there more stuff coming?
Yeah, I mean, hotels is something... I mean, obviously, you've got a hotel background, so we're doing quite a bit of work with hotels now.
Yeah. So are you looking at plugging into the PMS as well for?
Yeah, so post-visit email, and then trigger a survey on the back of that.
Nice.
Yeah,
so is also looking at working, because there's a couple of calls like Revenate and others that are out there, Hotel Cloud, Foresight.
I mean we're open to work with anyone. I mean, you've got APIs as well, so we can work with anyone.
Tell me about the lasagna story.
The lasagna story is about the message is about consistency. So there's a well-known Italian brand a good few years ago. They thought they had a problem with lasagna and consistency and quality. So at the time, they invited all the GMs from all up and down the country to come into head office and bring a lasagna from their restaurant in a Tupperware, flying down from Scotland,
I love that.
Driving down the motorway into head office, and they laid out all the lasagnas. And what they found was that there was so much inconsistency, different sizes, the quality.
Yeah.
It was just all over the place. And so what they suspected was correct. It was an issue.
Yeah.
And I guess the message is that was a drastic measure to kind of see that. And I guess what we do is we provide that in real time.
Yeah.
Like literally, you could have just found that out today.
As you're doing that,
Yeah.
Are you going to start doing what everyone else is doing with a natural language search? Like, what's the feedback on this? Is that something that's a plan for the dashboard?
We are doing
AI stuff?
we are doing a lot of work with AI to help with analytics.
Yes.
Because part of the survey there is some free type text that's available. So we're doing quite a bit of work on that. It's not there yet, but we're doing a lot on it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. We're coming to the last questions. So the last questions we have is best restaurant.
Ooh, right. Well, I've dined in a few restaurants in my time. There's a place near where I live in Knutsford in Cheshire, and it's a fairly new place, Linden Stores.
Okay.
And they do a chef's menu. It's owned by husband and wife. Chris is the chef, and Laura, she's the wine expert.
I love that.
And basically, it's the chef's menu, so you don't choose what you have.
Yeah.
It literally arrives. And it's 6 courses, and it's all local. He goes foraging.
Oh, awesome!
It's all seasonal.
Yeah.
And it honestly, it's not Michelin star, but it's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's not pretentious.
Yeah.
It's just good, honest food. And I went there a couple of weeks ago, and I thought it was amazing. So I'm going to go for that because it's my most recent memory.
Well, make sure their venues are on LinkedIn.
Yes.
Because we'll tag them in. Yeah. Because some of the little ones don't tend to.
No, and I think that's the thing. The little ones don't get the coverage that they deserve because they are so good.
Where I live, there's a Powers Italian, and where I live, it's freaking awesome. Yeah. I mean, I got my new till system because he needed something better, but it's amazing, and I love the local chef owner operators. Yeah, there's so much passion in what they do. Yeah, I love it. Listen, don't get me wrong. I love the groups. I love everything. But in the local areas, it's nice to have the couple that aren't the chains.
Yes,
and then you have that.
And they're so passionate,
right? And they remember. So and they remember you and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. So amazing. Best burger.
I'm gonna have to go for an existing a Yumpingo client.
You can do that.
And they are amazing burgers. 7 bone.
Okay.
Yeah, incredible. Dirty burgers. Yeah. Like the calories are horrific.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. I could actually even tell you what their best burger is because I've got the data to
share it. Okay, best hotel.
Best hotel, I'd say Premier Inn. No, but honestly, when I come and stay here, that's all I do. The Hub by Premier Inn. Yeah. You know what you get in. It's a comfy bed. It's got all the mod cons.
It's changed a lot, right? Premier Inn. It's not what people used to think it was.
No,
it's so different.
No, I mean the hubs are great.
Yeah.
So when you're working, that's all you want.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, if I was going, at the weekend, I'd choose something different.
Yeah.
Probably Gilpin Lodge in the Lakes is probably one of my favourite
Yeah.
hotels. But I think day to day, Premier Inn, you know what you're getting.
Yeah, 100%. My wife, when my kid does dance, like she was at a dance competition, they were miles away, and there was a Hilton or a Premier Inn, and we got at some point, and she's like, I'm not going to go Hilton because it looks really that one's really old. I'm going to go Premier Inn.
Yeah.
And she went there. They were like, you could buy the beds. You could buy the beds. You could buy.
Beds,
I mean, there was LED. My youngest kid was going crazy. She's 14. She was like, oh, there's LED lights everywhere. She was like in awe, and it was just a Premier Inn. So props to Premier Inn, but I'll put both in. Okay, we're at the end now. So 2 questions for the last guest.
Okay, I would say sum up in 5 words the secret to a successful hospitality business.
Okay.
And the second question, I would say, what are you doing in your organisation to think upstream?
Okay, interesting. Because it will either be an operator, a supplier, a partner, whatever. So it's really interesting. Both questions are really interesting, actually. So again, you won't hear the sound, but they will hear the applause. So
thank you, thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much for coming.
Pleasure.
I have to say, my mind is blown because I had no idea that it does all of this.
Wow.
So, and I'm glad to share it with people as well because it's really interesting and we'll get some nice snippets from it. But thank you so much for coming in.
Pleasure. Thank you so much.
And it was really good. So say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Let's do that one.